mobile ndi wala ban simple mobile o walla foy lafita latest mobile o la walla foy lafita smartphone o la ñin be ka sutale dabin wala bulli shop number 1 ti andu na lafta Samsung fanana asifa bele bije A series kabirin A01 A11 A21 A31 A41 andu ñin be mu 4G internet o lat e manna da wala de alafta technology labang wala alafta itel la e kanyim be sutalele e ko Spark 4 Spark 5 and then Spark 6 abele be ñin dulato ande manna da wala de e ko chargealo asifa wasifa mobile cover ani ñi mobile protector e nyaadalu abele be jindi krato bulli shop number 1 be tilinde ngale dami wala mu Brikama police station o nyaatile wala chochu ba balaje wala badi ngolon kamune bato ali commande telephone wala niatra lafta mobile
7799530 9957262
bulli shop wala nata kodande ene nyanku dima to nya bulli shop nyoko
oh na 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 oh na 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 na
هذا الجمع خيرية وجل انفراقنا انفراق المعروف المشكور يا رب العالمين برم يمليان
mommy come back, she a jump, daddy come to me a proceed, and when they ask me, was me, I saw me top say, I don't like this shirt, but your body, cause you know say, my mama don't like them, I don't want this shirt, but your body, cause you know say, my papa don't like them, oh na 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 na, na 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 na, oh na 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 na, na 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 na, oh na 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 na, na 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 na, oh na 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 na, na 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 na. Imara susoni, okwina no, mommy. Makifine me bu spiritual, amina, shalewa, mommy. However, don't try me, cause if you try, I go do you many things. If you don't doubt me, don't try me, cause if you try, I go do you many like how she play the bass line. It makes me sing ooh la la la. The way she move, the way she dance, it makes me sing ooh la la la. Oh yeah. The moment come back, she a jump. Daddy come to me a cross.
te dinañu jàppale ci liñ buga te duñu rey duñu nor du nangu suñu alal duñu génne suñu réew ya rabbal alamin amin salatu ala nabi bismillahir rahmanir rahim allahumma salli ala allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayidina wa nabi amin ya rabb.
So we ask for your blessing on this ceremony. We ask for your presence, your guiding presence to be with us, most especially for the 152 fellows, that something passionate will be ignited in their hearts today that will cause them to run their race, fixing their eyes on the goal and the purpose for which you have blessed them over this 1 year. We ask that the ceremony will be peaceful, the ceremony will be memorable, and for those who are looking forward to joining this academy, this would have been the decider for them. So bless us this morning and bless all that we do. We pray in the name, in the power, and in the authority of Jesus Christ our Savior. Amen.
Here, and they're also here with us. Also, the Young Architects Affordable House Design Competition will be happening, and trainees under that program are also here. The aim is that these young architects will be the designers of the next tough affordable houses. So we'll also have a bit of that as well as we go into the program. So it's going to be a lot of interesting things, not going to be long, but it's going to be interesting, all the revelations we'll be having here today. But at this juncture, I would like to, of course, call on the visionary man, the man who's put his time, energy, and resources into making the Tough Africa Empire a model for Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, join me welcome on stage Mr. Mustafa Njai Tough, the president of the Tough Leadership Academy.
First start by recognizing the Lord Mayor of KMC, seated, the UNDP Res Rep, and the other dignitaries on the high table. Ladies and gentlemen, today it's a auspicious day for us because we're going to graduate 152 fellows who went through a one-year training program. I will not go into detail because Fatou has already told us what the African leadership is all about. We've recognized that leadership is an issue in Africa, and we need to address them. So therefore, we thought our humble role, if we're seen to be successful as an entrepreneur and at the age that we are in, is to look back at these young ones, aged between 18 and 30, and start working on them. If we empower them, if we train them with the right skills, with the right values of leadership, I think we will probably change the narratives. So that's basically what it is. So I will not go further in why we are doing this. In the leadership program, what we've done is we've taken 12 key leadership values. And now we've come up with an acronym for it. So everybody can remember it. Not only the fellows, but even those of us of the elderly age, we can remember this. And it's called ICE Fade Chip. I-C-E, Fade, F-A-D-E, and Chip, C-C-H-I-P. So what it stands for is I for integrity, C for commitment, E for empathy, F for futuristic vision, A for accountability, D for decision making, E for empowerment, C for communication, C again for confidence, H for honesty, I for innovation, and P for passion. We think that, look, if anybody, has these 12 leadership values, you should be a good leader. But even if you take 50% of it, you should do well. So please, this is not only for the cohorts, for the fellows, but this is for anybody who's in a position of leadership. Please try to remember that these values, they would help. Let me also take this opportunity to recognize the lecturers, those who took their time to lecture these kids. What we did was we selected prominent Gambians, Gambians that have worked in their life and are recognized, highly respectable, to talk to these kids. So they will also serve as role models. And amongst them is Mohamed Jagana, who spoke on futuristic vision, Miss Aida Drame, who spoke on honesty, Madam De Aissatou Ndiaye, who spoke on accountability, Madam Olidiba Wada spoke on empathy, Mr. Shola Mahoney spoke on good communication, Mr. Aki Allen spoke on decision making, Mrs. Lucy Fai spoke on confidence, Mrs. Awa Mary Khan spoke on empowerment, Mr. Malik Khan spoke on innovation, I spoke on passion, Mrs. Ami Bensouda spoke on integrity, and Mrs. Fatou Jain Senghor spoke on commitment. That was for the first cohort. Then the second cohort, we had Dr. Karamo Sonko, who is the chairman of Tap Africa Global, spoke on the qualities of leadership. Then Mr. Lamin Manjang of Standard Chartered Bank spoke on honesty. Again, Ms. Olidiba Wada spoke again on empathy. Mr. Usainu Ngom spoke on decision making. Dr. Aissatou B. Job, who's the first secretary at the embassy in Turkey, spoke on integrity. Mrs. Aji Kumba Dafe spoke on innovation. Mrs. Fatou Sanyang Kinte, the Minister of Women's Affairs, spoke on empowerment. Mrs. Jama Jack spoke on good communication. Mrs. Musu Bakoto Sao spoke on commitment. Dr. Lamin Marena spoke on confidence. Again, Mr. Mohamed Jagana spoke on good communication. Mrs. Ndai Aissatou Njai spoke on accountability. And then Dr. Basil Jones of the ADB spoke on passion. So we want to thank these Gambians who volunteered to give a lecture to these kids. We will definitely be knocking on your doors again because this is something continuous. And we will also be asking on other prominent Gambians to come on board, given their different disciplines. I don't want to speak much, but today also I would like to leave you with another acronym, which is REAL, R-E-A-L. Can we have, we have a circle, a chart on the, one on the board, on the screen. Is it on? But I will read on, because it's my philosophy about life. And I would like to have this again delivered at this forum, because the thing about making statements, repeating it, that every time you say it, there's somebody new who's never heard it. So now I've got it formalized. Instead of calling it the 4 quarters of life, it is called the 4 quadrants of life. And it's colored. So what you're going to say, okay, it's those circles there. I'm sorry, maybe you can see from your monitor. We've colored gray the first quarter, and I'll tell you why it's colored gray. Life can be seen from several perspectives. That's from my own perspective. Life can be segmented into 4 quadrants, and it's called REAL, R-E-A-L. R stands for resilience. E stands for experimentation or execution. A stands for actualization or assessment. And then L stands for legacy. Each quadrant represents a circle of life and its attendant characteristics together with the value system that is or should be prominent in such quadrants. R, let's start with the first one. It says, this is the first quadrant of life which spans between the age of 0 and 20, when you are born to 20 years. The quadrant is referred to as Reliance quadrant because at this stage of one's life, an individual is likely dependent on guidance, provision and protection by parents, guardians, and or other relatives. This is the stage where an individual grows from being a toddler through being a teenager and then exit teenage stage. Individuals in this stage are aided to discover themselves, define their uniqueness, identities, with a view of getting them ready for the next quadrant. This explains why this quadrant is marked gray. As expected, an individual in this would be largely dependent on the aforementioned relationships for survival. There must be deliberate efforts towards imbibing certain lifelong leadership values, including integrity, confidence, honesty, and excellent communication skills. These would flow into subsequent quadrants and aid the individual into becoming a better person. So that's for quadrant, the first quadrant. Then the second quadrant, which I said was experimentation or execution. This is the second quadrant of life, which spans between the ages of 21 and 40. This quadrant is referred to as experimentation or execution. Because at this stage of one's life, an individual begins to make attempts to have a slice of reality. Such individuals begins to clamor for independence and makes efforts at facing life headlong. This is the stage where individuals graduate from formal or informal education, start a business, or choose a career path, start a family, and generally start moving independently. At this stage, some setbacks are experienced and successes recorded, but individuals continue to strive further. This is why this stage is marked green. There is a lot of energy and appetite to venture into things and take on risk, both calculated and reckless risk. Generally, only a few individuals become successful at this stage. Others get closer to success, which would manifest in the third quadrant, while some others continue to hope for success. This stage is characterized by consistent work and attempts at success. However, it must be rooted in commitment, futuristic vision, bold decision-making, honesty, innovation, and passion. The third quadrant is actualization and assessment. This is the third quadrant of life, which spans ages 41 to 60. This quadrant is referred to as actualization or assessment because at this stage of one's life, an individual begins to take account of his or her life. This is the stage where either success is made or failure is recorded. An individual at this stage of life begins to consolidate on the previous two quadrants with a view to achieving a resounding success or avoid being seen as a failure. An individual might begin to slow down having recorded success in this quadrant, or might be in a rush to achieve success before crossing to the next quadrant. This accounts for the yellow amber, or the yellow or the amber color of this quadrant. Without a doubt, there is usually an increased temptation to amass wealth in this quadrant. However, this is the quadrant where, aside from other values, certain values must be prominent. Accountability, honesty, innovation, and again, passion. A mistake in this quadrant might undermine the achievements in the previous quadrants and negatively affect the subsequent quadrant. Now, the final one is legacy, which is L. Now, legacy, this is the fourth quadrant of life, which spans between 61 and 80. And some of us are already in that quadrant. It is almost unlikely, usually, individuals in this stage are said to be in the departure lounge. You know what it means, the departure lounge?
Scary.
It's scary.
Yes.
But interestingly enough, some of us around here are in the departure lounge. It's a reality. It is almost unlikely to build new businesses, careers, or professions in this quadrant. In fact, this is the quadrant where individuals focus on their creator and legacy they intend to leave behind. So in this quadrant, that's what we do. We focus more and repent, on all the sins that we committed, and then try to leave a legacy, what we want to be remembered for. In fact, this is the quadrant where individuals focus to. This is a reflective quadrant where amassing wealth becomes or should be unimportant. And I want to repeat this. It is a quadrant where one should reflect, where amassing wealth becomes or should be unimportant. Instead, individuals are focused on what they could give back to society and how they could help solve societal problems or vices. The spirituality of individuals in this quadrant is usually heightened in view of the consciousness of departing the earth to be with one's creator. As a result, there is usually increased participation and involvement in spiritual activity, An individual remains in this quadrant until he or she is called by the Creator to move. This is why the quadrant is marked red. This is the fatal stage of life because if not properly lived, an individual might not be remembered after departing the earth or might be remembered for unpleasant reasons. As such, empathy, empowerment of people, and passion to improve the society are the common values of individuals in this quadrant in order to leave a lasting legacy. And this is the simple reason why the Tough Africa Foundation and my humble self are involved in this, committing 1% of our turnover, of our global turnover, into the foundation. We fund our foundation. If partners reach out, we will not say no. But so far, everything that you have seen being done by the foundation over the past 4 or 5 years is totally being funded by the Tough Africa Global. Recently, we have partnered with ITC, I want to recognize them, to train 25 Masons. That's why they're here. We have 25 trainees, and we're in partnership with ITC. Then you are also, apart from the graduates, you are going to see, in the hall there are about 80-something young architects. I think they're here. And when Dr. Cole comes in, he will be introduced. There's a competition to design our next affordable housing scheme. So I will not go into detail. What we did was we appointed 3 competent Gambians by the names of Dr. Roddy Cole, who's heading it, and then Yafatu Gay, and then Mami Danso. So the 3 of them are the judges, and he will go into detail. So let me not bore you too much. It's not my day today. It's Pastor Fobb's day. Pastor is our guest speaker. So I guess I will leave then the podium to Fatu to invite the next speaker. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and congrats. Thank you.
And lack. And the training therefore enhances our internal peace, tranquility, and the Gambian sense of security, that which we have always cherished and been known for as a people, as a country, and that which we trust will save us from a possible spiral down into a societal self-destruct. So this training is commendable, and except my eyes don't serve me well, I probably personally would have wished more of the executive to be seated here. My role this morning to you, the 152, is to encourage you, challenge you, and fire you up to excel. So I speak primarily to you. Also, I carry in my heart the alumni, the staff, the prospective new intake cohort, and everyone else, including and especially those of our international online guests, participants, and the audience who we can't see, but we know are watching, are listening, and are participating. Help me to welcome them, please. So the year is 2071. You are now in your 70s, quadrant 4. You are taking stock and you are looking back at your life proudly or wishing ... because posterity is now speaking loudly to you about opportunities, open doors, chances that came your way in the prime of your life that you utilized well, or unfortunately missed out repeatedly. How do you avoid this from happening to you almost in a generational cycle? How do you avoid saying, if I had known, I could have, I should have, I would have. If I have time, I'll turn the clock backwards. Because, ladies and gentlemen, opportunities knock on the doors and the minds, the lives, and the decision-making processes of each one of us every day. And only those who open those doors and windows and grab the opportunities never regret. Because the quickest path to a life of regrets, drudgery, and bitterness, maybe even poverty and stagnation, is procrastination. I will do it tomorrow. I will start next week, next month. I can't do it because of the pandemic, Ebola, Thomas Cook, the rainy season, the upcoming elections, and on and on and on. You know, if you are 40 years today and you do nothing in the next 12 years, you will still be 52. Tomorrow never comes. At best, today is yesterday's tomorrow. And tomorrow, today will be the yesterday we talked about now. So it never comes. In my growing up days as a young Gambian boy, as my memory serves me, almost everyone at the top of any organization, institution, or enterprise here in the Gambia, and possibly around the world, whether in civil service or in the private sector, was always in their late 50s or early 60s. It kind of gave us the impression that your best only showed up when you were 60. Not very encouraging for you. But that has radically changed over the last 2 decades, globally. Or maybe I should qualify it, except in one particular continental political sphere, where the people are holding on strong and not wanting to relinquish power. But here we are. Globally, it is changing. And with 152 of you, we can see average age or range 18 to 30. We've seen indigenous startups, ingenious startups. You go to the trade fair, you see things that warm your heart because Gambian young people are rising up. Last year, I was privileged to be one of 7 judges at the Heroes Award by the Fatu Network. And when we were going through all the nominations and shortlisting, there were 1,538 entries. It took us from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the morning. And all of those ones qualified. You know, you have a problem when a university wants to accept you when you only have A grades. But they only have space for 10, and there are 47 A's. Then A becomes different because there are A's which are A's that escaped B+, and there are A's which are A's because they're A's. But it was such a joy. 1,538 entries, sir, of Gambian young people doing things by themselves. And let me borrow from Mr. Njai, doing things by themselves, sponsoring themselves, and not always stretching their hands for help. But it is one thing to start. Fellows, it is another thing to fan the flames of your startup and to find the wisdom to navigate the turns, the curves, and especially the unknown and uncharted transitions. See, everybody can drive a car straight. It's when you need to turn that you need training. And as your businesses grow, you will transition. Just over 2 weeks ago, I did a training for managers from one of our local banks in public speaking and presentation. And I was asking them, how do you handle it when somebody comes and wants a loan and takes a loan and ticks all the marks in the box, but he goes to marry a second wife? And when he cannot pay, I was asking them, do you repossess the wife and sell her to recover your money? Because transitions will come. New cars, business class, living in Bruford Heights. How do you manage these transition turns? So that at the end of the day, in 2071, you are looking back and not covering your head in shame. And not just for us here, but for those of us online as well. Here are my few suggestions to you. Number one, I believe you must understand, recognize, and make good use of time and opportunity. T&O, time and opportunity. A wise man said, and I read, in my old age, I looked at life and I considered everything under the sun. And I concluded, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor even bread to wise people. And riches and wealth are not given because you have understanding, nor favor because you are skillful. I know people who are talented and severely broke. So it's not because you are skillful that makes you wealthy. And finally, he said, I realized that the difference, the decider, is how they use time and opportunity. The wise man goes on to say, I went by the field of a lazy person and by the vineyard of a person devoid of understanding. And there it was, all overgrown with thorns. Its surface was covered with nettles. Its stone wall was broken. When I saw it, I considered it very well. I looked on it and I received instruction and counsel for my own life. And I concluded, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands, and poverty will come to you. Time and opportunity have been given to us all. And for you that we celebrate today, years of toil, of academic achievement, of financial ability have been squeezed in 1 year and poured into your lives free of charge. Even data, megabytes, were given to you to follow the lectures online. What will you do with time? Because we all have it in equal amount. Every 60 seconds is a minute. Every 60 minutes is an hour. Any 24 of those hours is a day. And every 168 hours is a week. Even a year, every year we have an extra 1/4 of a day, 6 hours, given to you. And together they make up our days, our nights, and our seasons. So there is no excuse to say you don't have time. We all have time. It's how we utilize time. We all have opportunity. In this hall here today, there is massive opportunity. Around these grounds, there is opportunity. Years ago, we called it the Monkey Park. Today, it's called an international conference center. Opportunity. Its grounds can be taken care of better than it looks. Opportunity. Because opportunity is like a man with a lot of hair, afro hair, in front of him. And he's coming by you and you love his hair and you feel you're going to take a piece of his hair, but you procrastinate. And when he passes by you, you look at the back of his head and it looks like my own. There is no hair. So you cannot grab opportunity from the back. There is nothing. It's gone. But we all have it. Across our border, just over a week ago, there was a YouTube video that I saw of a gentleman taking oil drum barrels, empty oil drum barrels, 55-gallon oil drum barrels, taking his tools and transforming them into restaurant chairs, sitting room furniture, bedroom furniture, empty barrels, barigo. And suddenly their value has gone up. Yet I also know in my country that there are people who are multi-talented but disorganized. So opportunity passes them by over and over. And because nature abhors a vacuum, other people jump into that opportunity space. And even if it's passive income, it becomes something for them, adding value to their multiple streams for their life. And they get to quadrant 4, and they do not have the kinds of concerns that Dr. Cole talked about. I know people, recently somebody was being challenged to activate their passion and their ability with respect to a 4.5-minute speech given by somebody. And what this person didn't know was that I had set aside $100, not much, but good enough, to just help the person. And the assignment was before Ramadan. We finished Ramadan, finished Korite, we are now registering to vote. 4.5 minutes, nothing was done. And people say, we don't have opportunity. We don't have opportunity. Opportunity comes to us all the time. Take hold of opportunity. Make good use of time. There are 2 Greek words for time. One, almost every person here knows, it's chronos, C-H-R-O-N-O-S, from where we have chronometer or chronology. It's repeated, predictable time. So if I stand here 24 hours later, I will still be found here at 12:14 p.m., except it will be another day. And sometimes the problem with that is because it is expected, it is preempted, you are not passionate for it. But inside that chronological time, there is another Greek word called kairos, K-A-I-R-O-S. Kairos is an opportunity that just comes. It's a window that just came. You met somebody, they're on their way to the airport, and they give you their business card, get in touch with me, and you go home, but you want to watch Manchester United. Shows you where your priorities are. I believe if you use this 12 theme areas, each one of you, and like Mr. Njai said, even if you use one, integrity, it can open doors for you that money cannot buy. Just integrity. If you use passion, a lot of the things you see about Mr. Njai is his passion. Somebody who dared to believe against all odds that it is possible. He can change the landscape, add value to the nation. Passion. If you take that passion and make it infectious, it will help you. What about honesty? You will never be called before a commission of inquiry. Number 2, not only must you know time and opportunity, I want you to have a transformer's mindset. Think out of the box. Break the box. Create new paradigms. Create new atmospheres. The good book says, as a person thinks in their heart, so they are. There are people you can tell 10 things about life, and they'll give you 45 reasons why it will never work. It's just where, that's just them. That's just them. And while they're giving you the 45, 80 people are doing exactly what they told you was not possible. And I don't know whether this is an English word, but you must be helpable for us to help you. Have that mindset that you can do something. You can change something. Even if you made a mistake in your business, start again. One of the joys of having mentors and the honorable people that lectured you is not because people have no problems in life. But I would not want somebody who never failed, never had a problem, was never betrayed, was never maligned to come and mentor me in life because, I don't feel you. But the people who taught you have sat where you are sitting now. And therefore, they're able to empathize with you and tell you that we were once here, but we rose above where we are, so you can also do the same thing. Never be a quitter, because quitters never win. And never say never. I'll tell you one of 3 stories, and this is the first one. If you notice sometimes in the 400-meter race, let's say men, and there are 8 nationalities. The Gambia, let's say Nigeria, Jamaica, Kenya, Great Britain. And so they start. The gun is shot and they go. And by the time they're getting to the last turn, the Gambian is ahead, or the Nigerian. I know those of you online will be screaming Nigeria, all right? So the Nigerian is ahead. And then the Jamaican is number 2. And the American is number 3. And the Kenyan is number 4. And you, the Kumba Banjul, Samba Banjul, you are number 5. And you know how it is when they're coming to the finishing line, everybody is screaming and shouting. But you know that there are only 3 medals, gold, silver, and bronze. So you that is number 5, you are pressing in to beat the guy who is number 4 from Kenya. And he lets you overtake him because he's saying to you, where are you going to? There are only 3 medals here. And so the winners are declared. Online, you wanted the Nigerians to be first, so Nigeria number 1, Jamaica number 2, Britain number 3, and you Gambian that beat the Kenyan, you are number 4. But nothing. So they give them a bouquet, they give them their medals, the green, white, green flag is hoisted, the national anthem is played. 5 days later, they come out and tell you that power-enhancing drugs were discovered in the urine sample of the number 1. I wouldn't mention the nation. And once that happens, that person is disqualified from their position and their medal is taken from them. So number 2 now wears the gold. Number 3 wears the silver. And the Kenyan is holding his head saying, Bumayegon, if I had known, I would have just pressed him, because number 4 now becomes number 3, who is the Gambian. What I'm saying is that it's never over until it's over. Failure is not a person. Failure is an event. As a matter of fact, failure is part of the success process. Number 3, dare to be different. If anything gripped my heart when I graduated and came back in 1988, was that I knew I was different. And I'm still different. Dare to be different. The day I was privileged to be working with TAF on the property Reef TAF in River State, I talk about it because it was so funny. He was on the right, I was on the left, and between us were 2 armed Nigerian policemen. And I looked at him, I thought, isn't this interesting? 2 Gambians are being protected by 2 Nigerian policemen. But at that time, his country had thrown him out. And if you've ever been there and you see that land, it's marshy, it's muddy, it's something where all right-thinking people do not build a structure. Because consensus orthodoxy tells you it's impossible. But if you dare to be different, carpenters, masons, if you dare to be different, what happens is that you open a new paradigm. And yes, you become the guinea pig for everybody, because they now believe, tough def narco, it can be done. Pastor Forbes has done it, it can be done. But you have to dare. You have to dare. That's the word. You have to dare to be different. Ladies, you have to dare to be different. Don't wait to be married by somebody. Dare to be different first. We are being told of 1 million homes across Africa in the next 20 years. You know what that means? It means 50,000 homes every year. When people tell you that, you know, you build in your mind's eye their structure. You expect them to be as big as Shaquille O'Neal. And then when you meet him, you know he's nowhere near Shaquille O'Neal. I remember many, many years ago in the former republic, I had a meeting and I went to the office of the president. I was actually meeting with the former president then. And all the soldiers were, Pastor Forbes, discovering the truth. Yeah, Pastor Forbes. And there was this cleaner lady. I'm sure she thought I am not Gambian. I don't speak Wolof. And she just said, "Hi, Lagate." For those of you who don't understand, she said, "Is this how short he is? Because behind the TV screen, you look so big. Fatu, you are not the only one." She was shocked. So the depth of your vision is not in your height. It is the intensity of what is biting you to be a change agent for your country and for him, for our continent, and for the world. Listening to him on Tuesday, being interviewed by Peter Gomez on Coffee Time, "Sir, I heard you say you always look for challenges and you conquer them and turn them into opportunities." That's what you should do. That's what we should all do. But remember, his story is not without a challenge. And your story will not be without challenge. Nobody's story here, no matter how we airbrush them, we all have challenges because the challenges push you. You know, ladies and gentlemen, your friends will never take you to your next level. Are you ready for this? Your enemies take you to your next level. They tell you who you are not, and they make something rise up in you that make you tell yourself, "I can do it, I will do it, if not for anything else, to prove to him, her, them, and myself that it can be done." So be happy less with your friends and look for more. We celebrate Taff. I celebrate him personally. We celebrate him sub-regionally, continentally, globally. And yet when you see him, you see a humble man, approachable, somebody never hiding secrets, always lifting up his own kith and kin, a true Pan-Africanist in every sense of the word. Congratulations, sir. Let me ask you, especially those of you online from Nigeria, and in this hall, how many non-Nigerian African names do you know of in Nigeria? Nigeria is big. 200 million people. So for you to edge your way through those big names and shoot up and touch the top magazines, there must be something about you. Because Nigeria is huge. And that's why I take issue when I read about indices that don't make sense to me. One of them is that the percentage unemployment in Nigeria is 8%. 8% unemployed, gari-eating Nigerians? No way. 8% of Nigeria is 16 million. And truth be told is, the day you find an unemployed Nigerian, come and show me. They are selling water, they are even negotiating from their mother's womb. Very proactive, and so must we be. Number 4, second to last. Or let me make it my last. Please learn to collaborate. When you look at people you admire, try and look for some things that are key in their lives. With Taff, apart from his generosity, his simplicity, his largesse, is how he truly exemplifies the things we talk about in conferences about being Africa, one passport and all that. He exemplifies it so naturally in his life, in the people he deals with, and his employment. I'm going to leave you with two examples that I pray will never, ever leave your heart. For those of you, the 152 fellows, and for the rest of us. Number one, many of us, probably everybody here, has played this game, musical chairs, before. You know musical chairs? Maybe you have like 10 contestants and 9 chairs. The chairs face in opposite directions, and the aim is for one person to win, and at every turn and round, one chair is removed. And so you have this 10, maybe kids, and the music is being played and played and played, and the music stops, and they all sit down, and one child misses a chair. More often than not, the child goes crying, and the mom will say, don't worry, it's not about winning, it's about participating. That's the lie you told your children, or the truth. And you do that, and you keep removing one chair until 2 contestants are left and 1 chair. And hopefully, if the DJ has no interest in the 2 people, he will close his eyes and stop the music, and the winner sits on a chair. Now, that is what we all learned. It's the capitalist, colonial, musical chair we were given. There is another form in a Southeastern Asian country I would not want to name. In their own type, you still have 10 contestants. When the music stops, 9 children are sitting, and 1 child tells the other child, come and sit by my chair. Collaboration. So they take away 1 chair. There are 8 chairs and 10 participants, contestants. And the music plays and stops, and 8 sit, and of course 2 are standing, and they are called, come and Kaimamel and talk, Randall Mama talk. The Nigerians will say shift, dress. I go 7, 6, 5, until there is 1 chair left. And how many contestants? 10. How they do it, I do not know. In Wolof, we have a word called langamu. There is a way you have to adjust. But the import here is that if I am going to succeed, then everybody else in my team must succeed. It's a win-win mentality. And if I should tell you the name of that country, you'll say, no wonder they are successful in every possible matrix that you know of. Thank you. My wife, somebody just said Japan. Thank you. That is it. It's a win-win. But let me leave you with my final example. How many of you know who the world record holder for the 100 meters men's sprint is? Usain Bolt. What is his timing? 9.58 seconds. So that means anybody who does 9.57999 will beat him. Nobody has broken that record since 2009. 9.58 seconds. The world record hold for the 4x100 men's relay is held by which team? The Jamaican team. Carter and other people, including Bolt himself. Now, do you know what their score is? Their timing is 36.84 seconds. Pick out your calculator and do the math. 4 men, including Usain Bolt, who clocked 9.58 and holds the world title, 4 men have run in 36.84 seconds. If you do the math, you come out to 9.21. 37 seconds faster than Usain Bolt's world record. So even in his team, he ran faster than when he ran alone. Need I tell you, this is not rocket science, that the speed, the average speed of a team that is together, that is bound together, that understands collaboration, that understands that I don't have to be Mandinka, Aku, Zimbabwean, I don't have to come from Senegal, but if we say we are African, and if we say we are Gambian, and hold one passport together, if we collaborate and work together, we will win, and our speed will be faster than the fastest individual runner in the Gambia. Let me leave you with that, fellows. Run together. Leave these premises with that in your mind. Run together. Make TAF proud. Make TAFLA proud. Make TAF Africa Global proud. And make this our sweet smiling coast proud. And make your families proud, because you understand that none of us is as good as all of us put together. And let's trample tribalism, trample all these things on foot, work together as one people under one God, and bring the levels of prosperity and success that we have never seen. 37 seconds, if only he knew. 9.21 as opposed to 9.58. You can do better when you do it together. I wish you well. I pray God blesses you all. I pray that you prosper in everything that you do. And in your prosperity, please remember TAF. And don't forget me. Good afternoon.
As a philosopher. Unfortunately, I know him very well as a philosopher. My office was in NTC in Banjul. Each time he came to Banjul, he would swing by my office and give me his latest theories about God, about the world, about development, all kinds of things. And poor me, I had to sit down there patiently listening to him. And here we are. He's actually walking the walk, not only talking the talk. Another comment, some of us are in quadrant 4, but we are still trying to amass. We were very careless in our younger days and we didn't amass. So quadrant 4, instead of being more holy, as he's saying, we are now trying to amass at this late stage. But I'm sure my godbrother, Pastor Forbes, can intervene for me. Young architects, if you're in architecture to make money, I'm not sure you're in the right field. If you're passionate about it, yes, but if it's there to make money, maybe you need to change to engineering or something like that. I speak on behalf of my two fellow panelists, as Fatou has said. Mami Danso, who's a young architect, studied in England and has just come back and is practicing. And then Fatou Gay. Fatou is not an architect, she's actually a civil and a mechanical engineer. A very rare combination. But we thought to broaden the scope for evaluation, we should bring a non-architect in so that we architects don't sit down day after day fighting about concepts and this sort of thing. Fatou brings in the more environmental factor, the appropriate technology, building materials, construction technologies, and that sort of thing. So a little bit about the competition. For one thing, there's no criteria set for participation. We didn't feel any particular group has a monopoly on creativity or passion, so it's open to everybody that's interested. Architects, architectural technicians, artists, planners, anybody that wishes to participate is invited to participate. The design brief, the brief for the design is actually coming from the TAF organization. As I think as Fatou has said, it's a live project. We know him to be the largest real estate developer in the Gambia. He has told us so himself. And obviously he has many, many estates that are currently being developed and may be developed in future. So this is a good way, we feel, to tap into the current concepts and ideas that are out there, especially by the younger people. In terms of urban design and home design, nobody could have failed to notice that things have been changing over the past 30 years. The kind of aesthetic you see now is very different from what it used to be. For one thing, very few people have compounds that are 50 by 50 meters with large villas. You know, building materials are more expensive, land is more expensive, So the tendency now is for much smaller plots and much smaller structures. So that's why it's called the affordable house design. The young architects will be called upon to put together a package that combines aesthetics, building functionality, environmental aspects, thermal design, all of these things, of course, building economics, the cost. So all of these things is what will be evaluated in order to come out with a winner. I believe the 10 entries will be shortlisted, and each of them will receive some compensation, but the focus really would be on the first 3. They will have some monetary compensation. In addition, they'll have other prizes. The intention here is to help them along the way. If they're just setting out, they need printers, computers, and that sort of thing. The intention would be to give them gifts, these prizes that would help them along that process and help them establish properly. There's another important benefit in the sense that the winning submission may be called upon to develop technical documentation for actual construction on site. Going back to when I was a young architect about 200 years ago, it's easy to come up with concepts. You're used to that. You go to school and you learn that. But to make the transition from concept to technical documentation, what the contractor actually takes to the site to build, it's a very difficult process. You have to have some understanding of structures, especially if it's a story building. You have to have some understanding of building services. These are very complicated these days. Not only do we have NAWEC, some of us have solar, some of us have inverters, and there's generators, etc. So the services aspect of building is becoming more and more complicated over time. So you have to have some understanding of that as well. And then there's other aspects, landscaping, site design, and all of these things. So what the plan is, once we have a winning submission, they can work with us, maybe, a GAP, to look at the architectural coordination, etc. We intend to nominate some prominent professionals. Omar Kamarov of Master Plan is one such person. He might be willing to help you develop your structural drawings. And we're thinking maybe an electrical engineer like Charles Pottin might be available so that you can develop your understanding of building services. So at the end of the process, you have in most cases, when you have a client, an individual client in Banjul, in Gambia, it's mainly for scheme designs. But if you want to make the transition to work for GAMWORKS, they not only require schemes, you have to do detailed working drawings. So we hope that the winning submission might be rewarded by being assisted along this process so they can transition from individual clients, houses, etc., to working for an institution like GAMWORKS, whose requirements are a lot more rigorous. In terms of the submission, the young architects, it's up to you to use whatever tools you feel best expresses your concept. There's the basic requirements, sections, plans, etc. And these days, increasingly, the software that we use allows us to do 3D drawings. So these would be the basic requirements. But like I said, it's up to you to use whatever tool you feel you have to express the ideas you're trying to communicate. Anything else I've missed? Yeah, Fatu, are you sure? Let me end by congratulating the young people that are going to be graduating this year from the TAF Leadership Academy. I think we have members of TAF leadership. We also have Masons. We have young architects. TAF is very committed, it seems, to helping young people that are committed, that are focused, helping them along the way to success, especially with regard to nurturing future leaders of this country. And my fervent wish is that you young leaders of the future are able to do better than we did, than my generation did. That you, like most of us did, you do not stand aside and not be interested and not participate, but you actually are able to get your feet wet and participate in building the future of this country. And again, I want to thank TAF for his energy, his resources, his time to fulfilling this very, very important role. Thank you very much.
ibe lafirin ka kodola kina banka bono UK kate kanun tewle Gambia banko kambang Remit Continental lam dulati kodi kiyo dadiata dame ila kodo si boy andung ni kodo ki hani feng itole jola ni sunkaro wucho be kono ibe men kala doron wolam ka Remit Continental la mobile app download ya dati ka kodo ki wollo nim baroto al Remit Continental kal kuke nyolti na lefta ka kodo ki tarafata ain nyabito ni nyaayelo kono nga yamar la kendol satane ne melbe janjande Gambia tonkongo bela dula keme ani dula tan lulu andu ibe parerin wati puri salde mano nyamema Remit Continental FCA fawnle la kuwo sembentu ya waya sabu ila dokunya tanko ani lanna ya drone bije alkana nyina pour ali kodo ki andum alte hani fenjola Remit Continental la mobile app albo la download la sign Remit Continental ila kodo ni badi wal kum mayata dame